Now at 9, a second escaped inmate is captured, but Ottawa County authorities still searching for 2 more.
The FBI has released its snapshot of violent crime in America, and some of the numbers are grim. I'm Lauren Blanchard in Washington. Details on those coming up.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Jordan Albee. Authorities in Ottawa County, Oklahoma have arrested a second inmate who escaped from the county jail yesterday. This means 2 are still on the run. The Ottawa County Sheriff says the inmates escaped through a door that had been left open for contractors working in one of the pod's rec yards. Officials say once the inmates got to the jail's north doors, they pushed the jailers out of the way and ran to the door. A detective captured 1 inmate, Rusty Reese, shortly thereafter. Again this morning, officers recaptured a second inmate, Buck Martindale. They found him in a house by Devil's Promenade. 2 others remain at large. Take a good look at them. They are Daniel Zajac and Tyler Tavis. Authorities say both should be considered armed and dangerous.
We sent out our all clear yesterday. We just asked that everybody remain vigilant and pay attention to their surroundings because and to report anything suspicious or out of the ordinary to our campus police.
If you have any information about those 2 gentlemen's whereabouts, you're being asked to call 911. All right, meteorologist Doug Katie joining us now. First look at the forecast. Good day today, not too hot, not too cold.
No, not bad at all. We got some clouds in here by the afternoon into the evening hours, but 87 for a high, not far off from the record of 91. We should be topping out at 75 for this time of the year. And you can see those thicker clouds starting to push off toward the east. Still a pretty good cloud deck right along the I-44 corridor, but clearing out on the Kansas side. And all of us will start to clear out later on tonight as this weak wave exits off toward the east. Temperatures cooling down a little bit on the Kansas side. We had a weak cold front that slipped through over the past couple hours. Pittsburgh at 66, Anderson at 70, Miami at 70. We'll drop back to 55. 63 by 9. By noon, we'll be up to 77. Back into lower 80s for highs for us tomorrow, but a stronger cold front rolls in tomorrow night. We'll talk about that here in just a bit.
All right, Doug, thanks as always. City of Caney, Kansas has been struggling with a log jam in its water source during a water emergency. KOAM's Yana Hatala talked with officials about the issue, also their current water emergency situation.
City of Caney has been in a water emergency for a few weeks now. The city's main water source had been affected by a log jam until now.
It's a huge log jam that had been there for 40 years that the city had been talking about, so the city elders had talked about removing that and kind of kept putting it off. Well, it got to the size that the water couldn't get through it any longer.
Large amounts of rain that washed the trees off the edge of the bank, the erosion process, and the trees just fall in the river, and that's where they stop.
The city contacted Montgomery County Public Works for assistance to remove the logs.
It was the most massive log jam I ever seen. I mean, it was, when I walked to the bank, I looked at him, I said, no. He said, now come on, come on. I mean, it's just massive.
The logs stopped the flow to the dam, where the city takes water for their use. The city is now hoping for 3 to 4 inches of rain.
You have to have running water, and there has to be enough rain to saturate the ground where it actually repels the water.
The city administrator has already started reaching out to the Kansas Water Association to get a permit to be able to receive water from other watersheds. He says the city is working to prepare if the issue comes up again.
We're going to fix the problem and find a resource that's going to tie us into some other system that has the ability to help sustain us in a drought.
In Caney, Yana Hautala, KOAM News.
City administrator also says every city on the river in southeast Kansas that does not have a secondary water source is experiencing these water shortages. Missouri Governor Mike Parson today signed into law the largest income tax cut in state history. The law makes several changes to the state tax code, including eliminating the bottom income tax bracket, meaning Missourians making $13,000 a year or less will not have to pay those taxes. Also, your first $1,000 all Missourians earn going to be tax-free. You can find more information about the law on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. Well, for the next 3 Wednesdays leading up to a special panel in Joplin focused on daycare, we're going to have a series of stories highlighting the different child care challenges in the 4-state area. KOAM's Amber Jenkins spoke with a local daycare about the challenges they face.
Southwest Missouri is experiencing an epidemic of deficiency in childcare. Local daycares are struggling with keeping qualified staffing and offering competitive pay.
The state subsidized payments, those that take in the state subsidized payments receive a much lower wage for the children that they bring into care, and so they don't have funding beyond paying salaries to put in for education materials for the children that they work with. So they're scraping by. This is one of the fastest professions that people are leaving right now throughout our nation.
Due to the lack of staff, many local daycares have waiting lists dating back for months.
I have one director that I work with that she recommends all parents that are pregnant to, as soon as they find out that the day that they're pregnant, that they actually tell the daycare director first before they tell their husband, so that they can get on the wait list. That's what our families are dealing with here in the Southwest region. We actually have some counties here in the Southwest region where there is actually zero care.
Staffing is not the only challenge daycares face. Inflation has also affected them as well.
Even this week I was doing some math. Our juice prices from a year ago were 25 cents for a jug of juice. This year they're 46 cents, almost double the price. That costs us an extra $400 a month, just in juice alone. You factor in everything else, grocery-wise, paper goods, toilet paper, paper towels, everything. Even if you can find it, is more expensive.
80% of FBC Learning Center's budget goes towards payroll, leaving very little for supplies.
Everybody who does this understands that nobody wants to raise rates or pass that cost along, but we really don't have any option. With labor costs taking up so much of our budget and those fixed costs that we have to have, there's really we don't have a very big margin to eat that cost ourselves. So we have to pass it along to parents, unfortunately. And so parents will have to turn down jobs maybe. You may have to have families, especially with multiple kids, who consider being a stay-at-home mom or dad so that they can keep those costs down.
The Alliance of Southwest Missouri is going to host a panel with professionals discussing child care within Southwest Missouri on October 20th. You can learn more by visiting the Alliance's website. Grim new statistics from the FBI as they release new data on violent crimes in 2021. The numbers show what most expect, really. Crime is on the rise, but some say it's not the complete picture. Fox News correspondent Lauren Blanchard has these details from D.C.
A father visiting his son for family weekend at Marist College in New York gunned down in the lobby of his hotel. According to a new FBI report released Wednesday, murders like these are on the rise.
You're getting a cup of coffee, you're checking out of a hotel, and next thing you know, your life is ended. And as you just pointed out, this is happening time and again, day after day.
The report analyzed 11 million criminal offenses between 2020 and 2021, finding murders climbed 4.3%, with an estimated nearly 23,000 in the U.S. Crimes against seniors were up 10%. The number of rapes also increased. Some believe the report doesn't account for more than 2 million crimes because of a recent change in the reporting method. Data from the New York and Los Angeles police departments are not reflected. Experts say that's a problem.
We want to have good answers, we want to have good data, but the sad reality is that this year's FBI report is not something that I think we can rely on to get a real sense of where things are.
Crime already front and center on the midterms campaign trail.
For 5.5 years, we stopped the killing and the gun violence. We stopped it. And that has never been accomplished before.
Violent crime increased while he was there and dropped after he left.
According to a new Politico poll, 3/4 of voters say violent crime is a major problem, and 60% of those say it will impact how they vote. In Washington, Lauren Blanchard, Fox News.
KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14 takes this time now to honor another four-state hero. Paul Hummer served in the U.S. Army during World War II. Native of Chinook, Kansas, Hummer was stationed in Scotland, England, also France. He earned several awards. We are proud to thank Ensign Sergeant Paul Hummer. He's tonight's four-state hero. Doug Hedges next with a complete look at the forecast a bit later. Missouri Southern football aiming to bounce back against Lincoln on homecoming weekend. Going to hear from the Lions in sports.
Well, it definitely turned out to be a nice Wednesday for us today. Temperatures pretty good. It is warm, upper 80s for highs. We had the clouds sneak in as we went through the afternoon hours. Now those clouds are slowly starting to push out of the region. Nice shot. Indigo Sky Casino and Resort. Look at our temps past 36 hours. Average highs are mainly into the mid 70s, mid 80s yesterday, upper 80s for highs during the daytime hours today. And in fact, if we zoom in, we actually had a weak cold front that slipped through this evening. So a little bit cooler on the Kansas side, from 61 in Neodesha. You got 66 in Pittsburgh, 70 in Miami, Cassville sitting at 71 degrees. This weak front continuing to push east, but that guy's a stronger front. He's going to make it here by the time we head into tomorrow night and cool us down quite a bit more as we head toward the weekend. Let's go outside. Currently sitting 70 west, northwesterly winds at about 5, humidity at 49%. You can see these clouds kind of scooting through, the heaviest now right along the I-44 corridor, but clearing out on the Kansas side. And eventually we'll have mostly clear skies tonight behind this weak wave now pushing into parts of Illinois. Most of the rain was stuck to the north. And then we got the southern wave, which is just going to hang out. It's going to hang out here for several days. And then eventually we'll tap into some of that moisture as we get into early next week. Let's go through time. We're going to stop at about 6 in the morning. Most of us sitting lower 50s. Plenty of sunshine as we warm up by the noon hour. We'll be into the mid to upper 70s, and then as we go into the afternoon, lower 80s from 80 in Mount Vernon, 81, Neosho 83 in Miami, about 84 for a high, and Chanute, Nevada, about 81 degrees. Tomorrow night, see that line of clouds? That's that secondary strong front. Northerly winds pick up a bit. We start near 50 on Friday, and then as we get into Friday afternoon, look at the clouds starting to increase. So mostly cloudy skies as we get into Friday evening. And also notice the temperatures. We're only right around 70 for afternoon highs. Friday night, a lot of clouds, may get a quick little shower as we head into Saturday morning, but then the weekend looks pretty good. All right, 55 at 7, 77 at noon, 82 by 5, high temp tomorrow of 83 degrees. And then look at this, only 72 on Friday, down to 43 as we get into Friday night. Saturday, 73 degrees, partly sunny skies. Now, we are going to start to watch a little bit of rain chances out to our west. Saturday looks fine, but a few showers could sneak in on Sunday, at least hanging around on Monday, Tuesday. But our best shot for rain next week is going to occur late Wednesday into Thursday. So we need to keep our fingers crossed on that because we could use some rain. 77 on Sunday, back into lower 80s by the middle of next week.
Yeah, could use a good amount of rain stretched over some time.
Yeah, that would be great. It would help out our drought situation.
See you in a little bit. Doug, thank you so much. President Biden in Florida today getting a closer look at the tens of billions of dollars in damage caused by Hurricane Ian. The president met with Governor Ron DeSantis while on the ground in a closely watched meeting of the two political rivals. Fox News correspondent Caroline Shively reporting from D.C.
President Biden toured Southwest Florida Wednesday, taking in the devastation of Hurricane Ian.
And it's going to take a lot of time, not weeks or months. It's going to take years for everything to get squared away.
The Category 4 storm crashed into Florida from the Gulf last Wednesday before bursting back into the Atlantic and tracking on to the Carolinas, killing about 100 people in multiple states. At one point, the storm knocked out power for 2.6 million people in Florida. Some are still struggling to find food and clean water. The president also met with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. On most days, the two are fierce political rivals, but on this tour, the two men appeared focused on the hard road ahead.
The administration has approved now 60 days of 100% reimbursement for debris removal.
Biden and DeSantis could be rivals for the White House in 2024, and the two have clashed repeatedly in the past, specifically on immigration. But the White House called this trip above politics.
I think he's done a good job.
Congress approved a measure last week containing $18 billion related to national disaster relief funding. Now Florida lawmakers are calling for more aid. In Washington, Caroline Shively, Fox News.
Coming up, a warning about car buying.
Scammers trying to take advantage of Hurricane Ian could try to fool you, especially if you live outside of Florida. I'm Madison Allworth in Grove City. Coming up, I'll explain why Hurricane Ian damaged cars could wind up in your state.
Study finds antibiotic eye drops may be the best way to treat pink eye in children. The research published in JAMA Network Open looked at cases of pink eye in children ages 6 months to 7 years. Children were treated with either antibiotic eye drops, placebo eye drops, or no drops at all. Those who received the antibiotics were cured within less than 4 days, compared to nearly 6 days until improvement for those without treatment. Paid parental leave may help prevent newborn deaths, according to a new study of California. Researchers analyzed the state's then 6-week paid family leave from 2004 to 2008, and they found that extra time at home with the new baby saved the lives of 339 infants during that time period. People in cities with high homelessness are pushing back tonight against plans for massive shelters where they live. Fox News correspondent Dan Springer has more from one Seattle community.
Residents in Seattle's Chinatown protest nearly every day to block what they call a megaplex homeless shelter on the edge of their neighborhood, part of a downtown area already with a dozen homeless shelters, rising crime and vacancy rates, and scores of addicted and mentally ill people.
These encampments continually go through sweeps. You go there at night at like 10 p.m. and you will see drug dealers and people actively doing drugs. Back when heroin was a big deal, we'd see like needles everywhere. We'd collect 100 needles a day. But now that fentanyl is on the rise, we're seeing overdoses all the time.
The $66 million project, funded largely with federal COVID relief money, is an expansion of this 270-bed shelter, which was set to close this year. King County will add 50 tiny houses, a 60-bed sobering center, and a 40-bed shelter for homeless people who are drug addicted and mentally ill. Officials say there are more than 700 people living on the surrounding streets.
Downtown Seattle, for this particular shelter, has more people experiencing unsheltered homelessness than any other part of the county. And what we see is that people don't tend to go far from where they became homeless. They want to stay in their community.
But lumping shelters and other services for the homeless does attract problems. In the 2 years since this shelter opened, many residents and businesses have felt under siege. This Vietnamese market is closing after 34 years.
Crime's gone up in the neighborhood. People just don't feel safe coming to this area anymore. Our customers don't feel safe coming. Our staff don't feel safe coming to work anymore.
Residents in other big cities such as San Francisco and New York have had some success in getting huge homeless projects downsized, but not here in Seattle. No matter the opposition, Asians here call it a form of racism, that they are again becoming a dumping ground, and their pleas ignored. In Seattle, Dan Springer, Fox News.
And up next, going to learn how you can score a free pair of Crocs right there to celebrate the company's 20th anniversary. Well, SpaceX and NASA launching a crew of astronauts from across the world on a trip to the International Space Station today. Liftoff, the rocket and spacecraft lifted off from NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida. The 4 crew members included 2 NASA astronauts, an astronaut from the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, and a cosmonaut from the Russian Space Agency. She's the first Russian cosmonaut to launch on an American spacecraft in nearly 20 years. And how about this? It's cool. NASA's Nicole Mann, now the first Native American woman to reach orbit. She's also the first woman to serve as a commander of a SpaceX flight. Crocs is giving away thousands of free pairs of its clogs to celebrate its 20th anniversary. It's all part of its Free Pair for All Croctober daily shoe giveaway, set to run now through Friday, October 7th. To participate, pretty easy. Yeah? You must join the Crocs Club, and that's free, and then opt in for emails. So, a lot of us don't like all those extra emails, but, if you really like Crocs, here you go. Crocs were first released back in 2002. The shoe brand got a resurgent bump during the coronavirus pandemic. Listen to this. The company reported record annual revenue of $2.3 billion in 2021. That was up a whopping 67% over 2020. But definitely interesting shoes. I once had a pair, and I had to get used to them at first, but they have benefits. You learn the benefits of they have over usual shoes over time, at least in my opinion. 30 more minutes, news, weather, and sports coming away. Webb City coming together to paint the town red ahead of their homecoming.
The U.S. and South Korea ramp up their response to North Korea's latest weapons test. I'm Greg Falcon, London. That's my story. Come in.
Paint the town red happening in Webb City. The parade started the night off strong. Then everyone gathered at the middle school for a bonfire. There were also food trucks, bounce houses, axe throwing. This allows not only football, cheer, and band students to get together, but the whole community as well.
This night is great because literally all ages come out. It doesn't matter if you're playing football, if you are a cheerleader, if you're in band, if you're in speech and debate. Literally the entire community comes out and just rallies around all of our kids that we have here in Webb City.
The Webb City homecoming football game is Friday. University of Oklahoma's health system is no longer allowed to provide gender-affirming care to minors. Governor Kevin Stitt today signed a bill. He signed that bill yesterday, that allocates more than $39 million of federal COVID relief money to the system's Children's Mental Health Center. But that bill also stipulates that in order to get all that money, OU Health must stop providing gender-affirming care. That includes surgeries, hormone therapy. OU Health issued a statement indicating it would comply with the new law. Stitt said he wants the next legislative session to ban permanent transition surgeries and hormone therapies on minors statewide. The U.S. and South Korea ramping up their response to North Korea's biggest weapons test since 2017. Today, the UN Security Council met to discuss tensions on the Korean Peninsula. Fox News senior foreign affairs correspondent Greg Pelcott has more.
A loud explosion waking up people on South Korea's coast overnight after a ballistic missile crashed during joint drills with the United States. The country's Joint Chiefs of Staff says the missile's warhead did not detonate and no one was injured. Exercises come in response to North Korea's successful launch of a ballistic missile over Japan on Tuesday. In another sign of unity, the U.S. aircraft carrier USS Ronald Reagan is returning to waters east of South Korea.
We're working on bilateral and trilateral cooperation regimes so that we can stay ready to meet that threat to the peninsula if it comes to pass.
North Korea's launch was the longest range test yet and far enough to hit the U.S. territory of Guam. It's raised concerns that the North could soon conduct a nuclear weapons test. On Wednesday, Secretary of State Antony Blinken issued this warning to Pyongyang.
If they continue down this road, it will only increase the condemnation, increase the isolation, increase the steps that are taken in response to their actions.
The UN Security Council held a meeting Wednesday afternoon to condemn the North's latest test. UN leadership calling for a complete denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula.
This is clearly an escalation. Reiterate the call to the authorities, to the government of the DPRK to resume dialogue with the key parties.
This year, North Korea has test fired about 40 ballistic missiles in more than 20 launch events. In London, Greg Pelcott, Fox News.
Gas could start getting more expensive again. OPEC planning to slash oil production by 2 million barrels per day starting in November. It's the biggest cut since the start of the pandemic. The group of major oil producers says the move comes, quote, in light of uncertainty that surrounds the global economic and oil market outlooks. The White House calls it, quote, short-sighted. America's debt has now surpassed $31 trillion. New data from the Treasury Department shows the government went on a borrowing spree during the COVID-19 pandemic to keep the U.S. economy moving. Since 2020, outstanding debt climbed $8 trillion. U.S. economists say this could indicate a problem for the future. A problem. A bit later, going to learn how cyborg bugs could be used to save lives during natural disasters.
Well, it definitely turned out to be a nice day for us today. We've been warm, upper 80s once again, actually kind of pushing record highs. At least we don't have to deal with much in the way of humidity. Looks great right now. This is a nice shot of our Indigo Sky Casino and Resort, Seneca, Missouri. We've had the clouds starting to clear out just a little bit. Check this out, mid 80s yesterday, upper 80s for highs today. We should go into lower 80s tomorrow. We had a weak little front that rotated through. That's why it's a little bit cooler. Neodesha at 59. We got 67 in Yates Center, 61 in Parsons, still 70s once you get into southwestern Missouri. This is a weak front. You can see it sliding now across eastern Missouri down through Oklahoma. That front is a little bit stronger. That guy is going to make it in here tomorrow night, so that will cool us down quite a bit more as we go into Friday and then also continue into the weekend. Let's go outside. Sitting at 70, northwesterly winds, light at 5, humidity at 49%. Look at the clouds kind of shooting through. A little bit thicker this evening. Now the clouds kind of along and south of I-44, but clearing out in southeastern Kansas. Everybody will start clearing out later on tonight as this wave pushes off toward the east. We got another wave that is kind of sinking back toward the south and the west, and this guy's just going to kind of hang out for several days out there and then eventually kind of shoot out toward us, giving us some chances for rain early next week. All right, let's go through the overnight. I'm going to stop at about 6 a.m. About 55 in Pitt, 54 in Welch, 53 in Iola, 54 in Neosho. Clear skies, sunny through the morning, mid to upper 70s by noon, and then we're going to top out lower 80s as we get into the afternoon. Nevada about 81, Neosho about 84 once you get out toward Indy, 83 in Miami. Look at that line of clouds. That's that stronger front. Winds pick up out of the northeast tomorrow night into Friday morning. We'll see the clouds increase throughout the day on Friday, especially Friday afternoon. But check out the temps. 64 in Nevada, 68 in Neosho, 70 in Parsons. So quite a bit cooler. Now we may get a few random light showers or a few sprinkles in here Friday evening into the overnight hours Friday night. And then looks like we'll clear out just in time for the weekend. All right, tomorrow morning, 55, 77 by noon, 82 by 5, high temp, 83. Overall looks pretty good. Four-state Friday night football. We got some big games coming up. We're going to call cloud interference because we are going to have some clouds. 63 at kickoff, 55 by the fourth quarter, maybe a couple little sprinkles. So it's going to be pretty good football weather as we go into Friday evening. 83 tomorrow, 72 Friday, 73 Saturday. Some random showers start sneaking in early next week. The best shot is going to be next Wednesday.
I like that cloud interference.
Oh, yeah.
What would justify personal foul weather?
Pouring down rain.
Yeah, pouring down rain. Yeah. Creative. Doug Heddy, thank you so much, man. All right, coming up in sports. Remember how we were talking about homecoming in Webb City a little bit? Webb City Cards prepare for a COC rivalry game against Carthage. We're going to have that and much more coming up.
Well, this week is homecoming week for the Missouri Southern Lions. The Lions host the Lincoln Blue Tigers on Saturday afternoon. The Southern is 3-2 in their first 5 games of the season. The last weekend, kind of a tough one for the Lions, falling to Pittsburgh State 38-9. Now that loss was their first loss since week 1 and snapped a 3-game winning streak for Missouri Southern. It's a feeling they don't really like, and they're ready to go out there and get back on the right side on Saturday.
We had gone 3 weeks without this feeling, this taste in our mouths, and so our guys are pissed off. We got beat, and so our guys want to get back. They want to prove that that's not us.
Defense has just got to play how they played. Week 1 through 4, they got to come out and just get turnovers, force that fumble, and we got to get on top of it.
At the high school level, we have a few big games coming up on Friday night in a matchup of 2 of the best programs in the state. The Webb City Cardinals host the Carthage Tigers in a COC rivalry game this week. Heading into the game, Carthage is the top-ranked team in the state in Class 5 with a 5-1 overall record. Webb City is 4-2, ranked 4th in the Class 5 state rankings. So it's 2 great teams, a great rivalry, and 2 great head coaches with John Guidey on one side for Carthage and John Roderick on the other side for Webb City.
John's been, over here in Missouri for a long time, and he's brought a great deal of stability over the years, and just has a great program. They get the most out of their kids. They have a lot of guys that, like this year's team, they've got a lot of guys that have seemed like they've been here for years and years. It's great for this. I think this is probably the longest rivalry either one of us has had in terms of sports. All sports, and certainly football is one of those. But it's just a respect. When we respect the heck out of them. They just do things so good on the football field.
Local high school softball here. The Nevada Tigers try for their 4th straight win tonight on the road against Carl Junction. Look at this. Carl Junction gets a walk-off win over the Tigers 3-2. Bulldogs get their 10th win of the season. Tonight is the final night of the regular season for Major League Baseball. St. Louis Cardinals have already earned their spot in the postseason, but they finish up their schedule tonight on the road against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Tommy Edman, RBI single for St. Louis. Cards go up 1-0. To the 3rd inning now. It's 2-0. Man on for Nolan Arenado. He gets a single to score Edman. That gets the Cards lead to 3-0. Here comes Pittsburgh. It's 3-2. Diego Castillo drives a double in the gap. That scores a run, and just like that, we are tied up at 3. Later, same inning, Pirates in front. Kevin Newman drives in another one. The Pirates rally to beat the Cardinals tonight, 5-3. As for the Kansas City Royals, their final game is tonight on the road against Cleveland. The Royals fall in that one 9-2. Vinny Pasquantino goes 2 for 4 with a solo home run for the Royals. Kansas City finishes the season with a 65-97 overall record. And that's it for sports. We're back with more news after this.
An army of cyborg bugs could be used to help save the lives of people trapped after a natural disaster. Fox News' Ted Linder has the latest from scientists in Japan on this exciting research.
They may not be your conventional search and rescue team, but specialized cyborg bugs could save your life in the aftermath of a natural disaster. Wow. A team of scientists in Japan are experimenting with solar-powered devices strapped to the bodies of Madagascar hissing cockroaches. Using a remote control, officials are able to send small electric signals to these high-tech backpacks. The signals alter the bug's movement and can be used to help steer them in specific directions.
The main purpose we think this could be used for is searching for survivors in places where disasters have occurred, in particular where there's an earthquake and people have been buried in rubble of collapsed buildings.
While other teams around the world are experimenting with rescue robots in disaster zones, critics say they have their setbacks.
The batteries inside small robots run out quickly, so the time for exploration becomes shorter.
But researchers say bugs armed with the solar-powered devices won't be subject to these restrictions.
A key benefit of a cyborg insect is that when it comes to an insect's movements, the insect is causing itself to move, so the electricity required is nowhere near as much.
The backpacks don't harm the bugs and can also be removed. Officials are now working on perfecting their ability to control the bugs' movements, while focusing on making the backpacks smaller and even adding cameras and motion sensors so the bugs can better track survivors that are buried beneath rubble. Ted Linder, Fox News.
Man, oh man. All right, coming up, how to watch the sequel to a cult classic Halloween movie. Hollywood Nation is coming your way. The sequel to a cult classic proves to be a smash. An iconic British band heads back on the road, and more. Fox's Ashley Dvorkin has all the latest from the Hollywood Nation.
You invited your ex? J-Lo's shotgun wedding, Depeche Mode returns, and the Sandersons use their bewitching charm in the Hollywood Nation.
Yes, Salem, we're back!
The Sanderson sisters have their fans under a spell. Hocus Pocus 2 is Disney Plus's #1 domestic film debut to date, based on the streaming hours received in the first 3 days of the sequel's release on September 30th. The film features Bette Midler, Sarah Jessica Parker, and Kathy Najimy reprising their roles from the 1993 original film. Iconic British band Depeche Mode is moving forward after the death of longtime keyboardist Andy Fletcher, who died this past May. Dave Gahan and Martin Gore announced they are returning to the road for the first time in 5 years for a massive world tour, starting March 23, 2023, followed by the release of their new album, Memento Mori, due out in the spring.
Are you nervous at all? Why should I be nervous?
Florence Pugh is a nurse on a mission in today's first looks. Netflix released the trailer to its film adaptation of The Wonder, a psychological thriller set in 1862 about a nurse called to the Irish countryside to care for an 11-year-old girl who claims to not have eaten in 4 months. It premieres in select theaters November 2nd, before debuting on the streamer November 16th.
Oops, you forgot to button his shirt all the way up.
And Jennifer Lopez and Josh Duhamel take an adventure through the jungle in the action romantic comedy Shotgun Wedding. Prime Video released the trailer featuring the duo playing an engaged couple whose dream destination nuptials goes off the rails when they are forced to rescue their families from a group of pirates who kidnap them. It premieres January 27th. In Hollywood, Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
That is our time for tonight. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. It's going to leave you with more video of Web City's Paint the Town Red event. Be safe. Do this all again tomorrow. See you then.